In the 1970s, a group of urban explorers broke into an abandoned asylum in rural Pennsylvania. The building had been closed for decades, its dark history shrouded in whispers of patient abuse and strange occurrences. As they ventured deeper into the decaying halls, a chill settled around them. Faint whispers echoed through the corridors, barely audible at first, like distant murmurs carried by the wind. They laughed it off, blaming their overactive imaginations. But the whispers grew louder, more distinct, echoing off the crumbling walls. The voices were calling their names, pleading, begging for help. Their laughter faded, replaced by uneasy glances and shivers that ran down their spines. One of them pulled out a recorder, wanting to capture the eerie sounds as proof. As they stood in the darkness, the whispers twisted into a haunting message. A voice, cold and hollow, broke through the cacophony, clear as day. "Get out before it's too late." Their hearts raced and panic took over. They stumbled through the labyrinthine hallways, desperately seeking the exit. Just as they reached the threshold, one of them felt an icy grip on their shoulder. A cold, skeletal hand that tightened before vanishing into thin air. They never looked back. Years later, the recording was analyzed by paranormal experts. The voice was unlike any human sound they had ever encountered. To this day, no one knows who or what warned them to leave. Even now, the asylum stands, its walls whispering secrets only the darkness understands. Those brave or foolish enough to approach its decaying doors claim they can still hear the voices, echoing through the empty hallways, waiting for the next soul to listen. If you ever find yourself near that place, maybe it's better to keep walking. In a small town in Ohio, there's a set of railroad tracks where the past refuses to rest. Locals speak in hushed tones about a ghostly child who appears there at night. The story goes that in the 1920s, a young boy lost his life on those tracks while trying to save his beloved dog from an oncoming train. Ever since, drivers passing by have reported seeing a small boy standing on the tracks, frantically waving his arms as if trying to warn them. Some claim their cars stalled inexplicably, engines dying right as they reached the crossing. No amount of turning the key would bring the engine to life until the boy vanished, fading into the mist. One driver, shaken by the encounter, took a photo of the tracks. When they looked at the picture, they saw the faint outline of a child standing there. His face was blurred, distorted, but beside him stood his dog, perfectly clear, gazing loyally up at his master. Paranormal investigators believe the boy's spirit remains trapped, bound by the tragedy that claimed his life. They say he still stands vigil, trying to save others from the fate he couldn't escape. The tracks are still there, silent witnesses to a heartbreaking past. Some say that on quiet nights, if you listen closely, you can hear a faint voice calling out, warning of danger that only he can see. If you're ever there and your car suddenly stalls, maybe it's best not to look back. In the early 1900s, a wealthy family in England purchased an ornate mirror from an estate sale, admiring its intricate carvings and flawless glass. They hung it proudly in their grand hallway, unaware of the darkness it held within. It started slowly at first, reflections that didn't quite match reality, shadows that seemed to linger a little too long. Then the whispers began, soft at first like a distant hum. But they grew louder, words forming, mocking laughter echoing from the mirror's depths. The family was haunted day and night. They saw figures moving in the reflection when no one else was in the room. Cold, empty eyes stared back at them, faces twisted in agony. The youngest daughter was the most affected. She claimed the mirror spoke to her, whispering terrible things, urging her to do unspeakable acts. Her once bright spirit became hollow, her laughter replaced by vacant stares. Terrified, the family tried to rid themselves of the cursed object. But no matter where they moved it, the malevolent presence followed. Desperate, they locked it away in the attic, hoping to end the nightmare. But the house grew colder. Shadows danced in corners, and the whispers continued, more furious than before. Decades later, the house was sold, and the new owners discovered the mirror covered in dust, hidden away and forgotten. Unaware of its history, they brought it downstairs, admiring its antique beauty. But soon they too heard the whispers. Reflections moved on their own. A shadowy figure stood behind them, its cold breath chilling the air. Paranormal experts were called, and they declared the mirror a portal, a gateway for malevolent spirits. Today, the cursed mirror sits behind glass in a museum, sealed away to prevent its darkness from claiming more souls. But even now, visitors report hearing faint whispers, feeling icy fingers brush their skin, and seeing faces in the glass that don't belong to this world. If you ever find yourself standing before that mirror, remember, some reflections aren't meant to be seen, and some voices should never be heard. Would you dare to look into its depths? Or would you turn away before the darkness looks back at you?